Good morning. It's Friday. We're live at Ruth Stitchery, and I'm here with Michelle and Jan. You guys met Michelle back in December, I think.
I don't know
oh my
when
gosh,
it was.
she was on one of our Meet the Staffs, and Jan, we have not done a Meet the Staff with. That's to come later, but she's still joining us today. We get asked all the time. How to pick fabrics for a quilt. It's kind of one of those things we hear so often from customers that choosing fabric is one of the hardest things for a lot of people. Picking colors. Sometimes someone will say, this fabric doesn't go with this, does it? And I immediately want to say, it does go with it. It's all about, do you like it? But we thought, what a great idea to grab a pattern and have a few of us pick fabrics as if we were going to make that quilt, and then kind of tell you the process that we each individually go through when we're choosing fabric, because everybody does it a little bit different. And we just thought maybe this would be helpful if you kind of got an idea from a few of us how we go about choosing fabric. So we chose a pattern that we have a quilt currently made in the store of. It's called Craftsman by Amy Smart. And the quilt is hanging here behind us. LQ made this out of color wheel. Is that what it was called? Color something.
It's right behind you.
Oh, this one.
Language of color.
Language of color. I knew it had the word color in it. Language of color. And so we thought that is a great pattern to just try to choose some fabrics as if we were going to tackle it. And so I'm going to start with Michelle. We're going to go ahead and get her fabrics on the table and then let her kind of talk you through what her process was. So let's get your fabrics up here.
It would help if I turned it the right way.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Michelle, tell us how you approached this and
Okay.
about your fabrics.
All right. Well, I tend to lean towards more bright colors, more saturated colors, and I like a lot of pattern and a lot of texture. And so when I'm doing something for myself, that's what I lead towards. And I was helping Anne several weeks ago move some fabric around, and I saw this on the shelf. It came in one of the days that I wasn't
Yes.
here, so I missed it. And I just fell in love with it because I love rainbows. So it's got all the colors. All the colors are in it. It's got so much texture, and so, it's really busy, and there's just so much going on, and that's the kind of thing that I love. So I'm like, I love this fabric. So when Beth asked me to do this was the one I was thinking of. And then this comes a close second to it because it's got all the colors and texture and pattern and everything that I love. And then I found out it has a whole line. So I don't normally pick from a line of fabric when I pick out my quilts. I will find one fabric that I'm in love with and then build my quilt around it. And I'll pull from everything that might go with it. But this line just worked. So these are my 6 main colors. And when I picked these 4, there's a whole bunch of colors within the line, and some of them are very similar to each other. There's like a pink and then one that's a little bit more orange. And I'm like, I tried to pick these 4 here based on something that had a lot more contrast to it, color-wise, so that they didn't blend together and look too similar. And then for my sashing on there, I picked this because I wanted a very bold, but also plain, like something that didn't have a lot of color to it so that it would stand out against these crazy things. Because if I picked, like something like this for the sashing, you wouldn't even see the sashing. It would blend. So that was my reason for picking this one. And I like that it's just very bold and an unusual sashing.
Right, and that's a good point that you make. When you're working with all of these really kind of bright, saturated colors, this fabric looks really busy, but when you lay it down next to all of these, it does sort of become your neutral.
It's my neutral.
It's your neutral.
It is. It's the blender. It's the one that kind of fades.
Exactly.
Which is what I wanted my sashing to do. And then for the border, I picked another one in this line so that I could have some fun. And I just love this line. And we were discussing this one the other day.
And this is
And my coworker.
spotted, right?
Yes.
Spotted
Graffiti. My coworker is like, this one is ugly. And I'm like, yes, it is so ugly, but I love it because how ugly it is. So that's what, I don't know. This is just very much me, and I really
Yes.
want to make this now. So
Well, I know. As we were picking, Michelle's like, well, can we really make it? And I'm like, oh, well, of course you can.
it may come home
But
with me.
you brought up another point that sometimes when you're picking fabrics, sometimes you do end up choosing one that you don't necessarily love, but it's just right.
Yeah.
You know, so
I don't
someone
love
saying-
this one.
saying, oh, this is an ugly one, but having that in there is really grabbing out
It grabs the color,
this
the orange.
here, and it's grabbing out the yellows, and so it fits
It
perfectly.
fits. Yeah. And this one that I don't love as much, I needed that other colorway because if I
Balance.
picked another
Yeah.
blue, everything in that, the blues, they were all too similar, and it didn't provide the contrast between all the colors that I wanted.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, great job.
Thank you.
So it'll be done tomorrow.
Maybe. Yeah. It might
Yeah,
be.
right. Sure it will. Okay, so let's put these back, and then we're gonna have Jan show you what she chose and how she went about it.
Okay.
So let's move that one out of the way. You want to grab your chair? All right.
Now these are totally different, aren't they?
What's your style?
Yeah, right. Aw.
All right, Jan. So tell
Okay.
us how you approached this and why you chose what you chose.
Well, I have to admit, the first time I saw this wonderful pattern, I'm going, oh, it's a modern pattern. And I'm total country primitive, so as you can tell. So my favorite is Kansas Troubles, and then I love Kim Deal. And I thought this pattern is so wonderful. It showcases the designer's fabric so well. So I went right away to Kansas Troubles, and I picked out my border because it's such a beautiful print and it's nice and big, and I could incorporate it into one of these wonderful large blocks as well. And then I thought, okay, next I'm going to pick my sashing. So I had in mind the dark navy blue sashing, or maybe the barn red sashing is plain. And then I thought, no, you know what? I want to tie in all of these colors. So then I found this one, and I thought, this is just a real tiny print, but it goes so well with all the colors in the border and all the colors, the other colors I chose. So that was exciting. And then, then became the hard part of picking out what to go with it. Not really a hard part, because one thing with Kansas Troubles, if you have a stash of hers from her previous lines, they'll all go together. That's so great. All her colors and her prints and florals and everything just kind of all blend nicely. But I came out and I had 11 bolts, and I showed LQ and I said, okay, I'm done. And LQ says, no, you only need 8. And I go, I
no.
can't get rid of 3 of them. And I said, I'm sorry.
Yes, I did forget to
I'm
mention
sorry.
that we
Yes.
did put parameters on them and
Yes.
said just pick 6 to 8 that you would put in here.
and I was like, I'm sorry, you guys. And so all the other
You
times,
wanted the whole shelf.
I wanted the
right?
whole shelf. I did. But it's just a nice, to me, it's a nice warm country feel. And to me, country primitive is just a nice, homey. And that's what my house is, total country and total primitive, with a little bit of Colorado mountains in it too, because I'm in Colorado.
Well, of course.
But I do have to make a confession here. I
Uh-oh.
am starting to go to the other
Oh.
side.
We're
Thanks
wearing
to-
her down. We're
Yep.
wearing her down.
And that new Maureen McCormick, Marshall line. Oh my gosh, it's so bright, so happy, so colorful, and so it's beginning to be a Jan.
Yes.
But anyway, this is my choice, and this is a wonderful pattern to showcase. And I do want to add, if you guys like a particular, say you go around and you found a border print that you like, you don't necessarily have to stick to that particular line, because all fabric blends and all fabric goes together. It really does.
It does.
It does.
It does.
Yeah, so you really don't have to stick with one particular line.
Yeah. But you did hit on a really important thing that, quilters should know, that there are a lot of designers of fabric out there that tend to stick with the same colorways. So their fabric lines do look different, but the color, the dye colors that they use when they're creating the fabric remains the same. So you know that if you really like this kind of burgundy color, but you need a bigger print, there might be a previous line of hers or a newer line of hers, depending on what you're looking at, that is going to have that same dye color, and maybe we'll have the print. So
Right.
that's not only true for Kansas Troubles, it's true for a lot of fabric designers out there. So it is a way that you can grab fabrics because they're all going to match when you do go with a particular designer. So
It's fun, you guys.
good job, good job.
Thank you.
All right, let's put those back on and pull my chair over, which is also completely different.
That's half the fun, is that
It's
they're
half
all
the
different.
exactly. I don't like it when someone says like, "Oh, I don't know how to pick fabric." Well, you do actually. You know what you like. You know what colors you like. And that's what it's really all about. It's more about, do you like how these colors are working together or not? So instead of saying, "Oh, I don't think this goes with this," really it's your mind telling you you don't like how these two colors are working together. So it's not so much about right or wrong as it is more about your taste, your feeling, what you want. So yes, I make a lot of quilts that are the same designer out of a line of fabric because I just love it. But one of my favorite ways to choose fabric is to just find, a little bit like Michelle said, find that one fabric that speaks to you. Remember the Pier 1 commercials?
Yes.
Let it speak to you. Find that one.
No.
Find that one fabric that is kind of calling out to you, and then taking that fabric and going on a little treasure hunt to see what you can find that works with it. So I think the hardest thing for me in this challenge was actually finding the one fabric. They all speak to me, obviously. So I think I might have picked like 6 fabrics that all could be my sort of focus fabric or my inspiration fabric. But I went ahead and landed on this one.
So pretty.
It just kept catching my eye. I love the brightness of it. I love flowers. I just loved how all of these went together, or how all the colors were kind of speaking to me. And it gave me the opportunity because it had all different shades and tones of green in it. It had several of the blue. It added in kind of this red, pink, salmony color almost.
Mhm.
And so then I just went crazy
It's
and
beautiful.
started choosing. And so as I was choosing, though, for this one, I actually started with the reds and pinks, and I just kind of went over and I found, I think I found this one to start with and thought, oh, this is great. It's got some of the darker, some of the lighter, and I liked like the texture it had. But then I knew if I was going to go lighter or darker, I needed some other print that was a little bit different. So I went with this one because, I do like polka dots and dots and circles and that kind of. And so this one to me really worked well with this one that I'd already picked out, but it had a different enough pattern on it that I felt like it gave it more texture. Then I went on and started picking out the blue, and I knew that I needed to get at least one more larger print in there, so I found this one. I mean, look at that.
Very
These are
pretty.
not from the same line. These are from different
And
lines.
see how beautifully they go together?
They do.
Yeah.
So pretty.
And I saw this when this was not in my hand, and I was like, oh, I hope that works. And when I held it up to it, I was like, oh my gosh. So then this one actually came from the same line as this one,
Mhm.
I think. Yes, Sundance. And so I knew it was the correct blue, but it was lighter and it had a whole different type of pattern on it that I
Yeah.
thought worked. Then I moved on to the green, could not resist a polka dot,
dots.
and held that up. I think the green was the hardest thing for me this time because I could have gone in so many different directions
Mhm.
with the green. But I landed on these two, one with the polka dot and
Well, and the polka dot is perfect because it's that same blue tone.
It
Uh-huh.
is. It is.
Uh-huh.
What's fun about this one is depending on what you hold it up to, it looks blue or it can look purple.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hold
Right.
this up to a purple, those dots start to look purple.
I love those little dots in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So it's great. And then I needed a lighter green, so I went with this one. And then who
Okay,
can't
now this is like whoa.
who
That's fun.
cannot resist a stripe? And this actually is from the same line as this one. So
Mhm.
look at
So
the
pretty.
colors. It's all the same. Love a striped binding, so I thought for sure binding.
Yes.
What I didn't do in following directions is I didn't pick a background or the sashing part of it. However, I feel like my sashing would need to be pretty plain. So I'd probably go with a grunge that maybe had just a little bit of texture in it.
And I'd go with your green flower.
Well, I kind of thought these are gonna all be those little
Yeah.
squares.
Yeah.
But of course now I want to make it too, right? So this would be my border. I'd go back
Okay.
and put this in some of those big blocks, but also my border. This would be my binding. And then I would find probably something a little bit, not solid, but something with a little bit of texture that was really light to then that would set all of these off. So
Mhm.
that's how I went about choosing, which I
So
mean, I've said
pretty,
this
all of
before.
them.
I could do this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I just wish that that was our job. We come here and all we do is grab a pattern and pick fabric.
Of course, so
Which
fun.
actually is kind of what we do. We just don't get to pick the pattern. Customers come in, they say they want to make this, and here's this fabric that they had in their stash and they want to match stuff to it. Sometimes I'll start to help somebody and a staff member will say, do you want me to take over? You probably have lots of things to do. And that's true. But I'm like, no, I got this. Like, I'm in my happy spot here, so I can choose fabric. So I hope this was helpful to you. If picking colors, picking fabrics is something that is difficult for you, hopefully some of the tips and the different ways that we go about choosing our fabric, I hope that this helps you a little bit, gives you a little bit more confidence. Remember, there is no right or wrong.
Right.
it is simply, it's very subjective. It's, do you like it? When you look at something and go, I don't think that matches, it probably does match, but you don't like how they're working together. So that's where we come in. We can help you find the things that you like right away. So hopefully this was very helpful. A couple of announcements to make for you. I was late in sending the email out for end of month, end of bolt, but guess what? It's today. Today is the last day of the month. So today is our end of month, end of bolt, which means any fabric in the store, if you finish the bolt up to 5 yards, is 25% off. If there happens to be more than 5 yards on the bolt, but you still want to finish that bolt, the 5 yards would be 25% off. Anything above the 5 yards would be regular price. It can go on your yellow card. But that is today. We would love some help in emptying our shelves. So please come see if we have that perfect backing for you that you need. But that's going on today. And then I also wanted to end today with this little sneak peek of a brand new line that came in. It's right behind you, Michelle.
I'm hiding.
We're going to open this up because you've got to see this. It's called Wild Blossoms from Create Joy Project, who you guys, I've mentioned her before. She does these beautiful floral watercolor lines. But you guys have to see this fabric that is in this line. It is, I think I ordered this whole line just because of this fabric. Look at it. It's stunning. It is stunning. The detail in the flowers, the bees, which I had gotten to a point where I was like, okay, no more bees. Like, bees are on every fabric. But I'm sorry, to me, this is a fresh way to add bees into a line. There are some in some of the other fabrics in this line.
Little.
But they're
And
they're
cute.
cute. I mean, just
So
look. And this
springtimey.
ombre, this brings to me a whole new meaning to the word ombre.
Oh, yes.
It's just stunning. And we've already said, like, why cut this up? Let's just
quilt it.
let's
Border
just
on
quilt
it.
it.
That's it, yep.
And I mean, it's stunning. So there is an entire line of fabric that goes with this line, but we thought, let's sneak peek the ombre one.
And
I can't-
see why I'm coming over
Yeah.
to the other side.
Right, right.
I mean, here we go.
That was my other thing that you mentioned that I wanted to say. You know, yes, of course, working in a quilt store, you are surrounded by people who have different tastes than you do, different likes, that kind of thing, and it's really hard to resist kind of starting to
is.
look at fabric in a whole different way. But I feel like that's the same if you're in a quilt group of friends. Find some
Yes.
friends that you can quilt with, that you can shop with, that you can do things with, that and you'll find that everybody has a little different taste. And to me, I started out Civil War, that's all
Oh,
I
did
did.
you?
Civil War
Okay.
reproductions, that's what I did. And then over time, just quilting with friends, working at a quilt store, over the years, my tastes just exploded. So now it's like the bright, shiny thing every turn I make. I like it all. That's my problem.
Right.
I love it all.
So that means there's hope for me then?
There is hope for
Okay,
you.
good.
You're
Oh.
going to love it all.
Okay. Oh, no. I'm sorry, my daughter.
That's right.
If you're watching.
Yes. All right. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this morning. We'd love to see you in the store today, any day. And next Friday, another little, not sneak peek, but a little teaser. We are going to do another live giveaway next Friday. So look for that event on Facebook. We're going to do a little giveaway during our video. So look for that event. We're going to set that up sometime this coming week. And we hope to see you there. Thanks so much.
Bye.